kind of want to cache this to disk because else we'd have to wait for this to sort of cook every time we do this. It's probably not that ideal. So a couple of ways to do this, I guess. I think there's an RBD.io. I don't really generally use this, but we can look into it if this might be maybe a good way to use this for now. So I guess let's put this in here. Put it in there. What's the proxy geometry? Also want that one. And this is simulated points, but we don't have those. So let's just say .job / geo. I don't have a preset for this one, but let's call it RBD pieces one .bgo.sc. Let's say save to disk. All right. So now it will just load from disk whenever we are gonna do this. Okay, we don't really need the exploded view. So yeah, let's do a RBD solver. Now it's gonna require a couple of things. So it's gonna require geometry, boop. It's gonna require constraints, boop. It's gonna require proxy geometry. Oh, we need to configure these constraints. So I'm gonna assume you're somewhat familiar with rigid bodies, but if you're not, essentially what this is gonna do is we have pieces. So those are these pieces. Let me just do explode view again. So those are these pieces. And then these can be constrained together. And the constraints will be the things on the purple input. So that's this thing. So these are a whole bunch of lines. And essentially what these are doing is they are attached to these pieces, sort of to the center of these pieces. And then we can sort of give these lines a strength. And then if there's enough force applied between, let's say, whatever, like one piece and another piece, then it will break. So we need to set up those constraint properties. So constraint properties, we can plug this in the middle here. And we want to set it up as a glue. So these things are quite nice from the new RBD toolset. Like it makes stuff like this much easier to set up. Like you would like normally you would need to write this out yourself, like create a string attribute for like constraints and whatever. So if you were to go in here like constraint name, you would need to create this manually. You need to create strength manually, and that's all fine. But for just simple stuff, it's quite nice to have this. So strength 1000. We could go ahead and vary this later, but let's just first set up our basic thing, make sure it works, and then we can start manipulating these properties. So we have our RBD solver here. And now if we play this, this should drop down, which it does. All right, now let's just test it out and let's just put something underneath it, which it can fall on. So let's just make a polygon. Let's move it down, I guess, like that. And put it into collision geometry. And also nice, by the way, with these RBD tools, these also work in regular Houdini, so non-effects. So that's quite cool. So you can see this works. So the glue is quite strong. It might need to be quite strong. I'm not sure yet. Maybe you just need to try some stuff out. Oh, by the way, we probably want to do the constraint properties after the RBD.io. Else it won't, of course, make much of a difference. So I guess if we now lower the glue strength, see it falls apart much easier. We can later vary this with maybe some attributes, but So this works. Let's remove the sphere and let's put in our actual ground collisions here. So that's going to be this part. So let's plug it into collision geometry. And let's then go to collisions and let's put it to concave. Well, I think concave is normally very slow and you shouldn't probably use it in a lot of cases, but our sim in this case is not really heavy. And it could even be, I'm not sure how this RBD subsolver is set up, that it might maybe under the hood sort of simplify that mesh for you. I'm not sure. I don't think so because it doesn't show, because that's what you normally do. Like you have, let me show concave. What is it called again? Convex decomposition. You have this node. Okay, so a little bit of theory. If you're doing bullet simulations, which is what the bullet solver, bullet, uses, generally it likes to create a convex hull of an object. What that generally means is that it just has it doesn't have any concavity in it. So something like this would be concave. You can use concave objects, it's just very slow generally. So what convex decomposition does is, let me plug it in, might take a while. So it creates convex hulls from your concave geometry. Again, we're not going to use that in this case because this simulation is quite it's like not heavy at all. So it doesn't really make that much sense to do this in our case. So let's just keep it at concave. So you can see even if we play like this, plays like a couple of frames a second, it's quite fast. So of course nothing is really happening because I mean, where is it going to go? It can't really go anywhere. So we need to blast this out. And what I actually just did is just actually move an object through it to sort of shatter it. So let's just do that. Make a sphere. It's going to be your sphere. You can see this is also now nice that we have stuff just in the center, because if we put this in the center, this will automatically be on the place where we want it. So this will, so that we can initially, we can immediately start and animating it upwards. Make it a little bit smaller. Let's give it a little bit of detail. Something like that. And then let's put a transform. Let's put it down a little bit. Let's add a key. Let's then animate it upwards, like suddenly, like that. Maybe we can also do some rotation if we want. Let's do it on every single thing. Might get some nicer results. I don't know. Let's just do it like that. And let's now just merge it in with the ground that we have here. That. Select it. Let's revert and let's play. Let's have a look. Nothing happened. Actually, a little bit confused why nothing happens, but so let's have a look. Let's try if we make our glue very soft. Let's see what will happen in that case. Might need a little bit more substep. Oh, it already has some substeps. Okay. You can see the problem. It loads it in here as a non-animated object. So let's make animated static objects. This should work. Let me just see why this is not working. to see how slow it will be if we put it to deforming static objects. Okay, it's actually still quite fast. Let's just use that. Let's have a look. Boom. Go to our camera. So you can see it's still quite fast. I mean, so for something like this, these tools are quite nice because as you can see, we didn't really need to do that much at all. Probably some things that we want to do is we want to transform this thing down when it gets out. So then, because of course we don't want our pieces to keep colliding with this when this is in the air. Let's just transform it down to 0. Let's have a look in the solver. Actually not sure if they have, so you can add drag. I was going to add a drag force inside of there, but if it's already on there, then might as well add it on there. So drag will add a drag force to every piece, which means, of course, if something moves through the air, then the air is going to give a little pressure on every object. So it slows it down. If you want to see what something does, you can generally just make it super extreme. You can see now we get a lot more drag, which is a lot more what we want because we didn't really get the scope of scale that we had when it was exploding out too much. This is probably too much, but you can see them still spinning around quite fast. So in that case, also we want to use drag spin. Really want to drag that up to a little bit. So I guess let's do spin resistance a little bit, and let's do air resistance to, I don't know, maybe 0.15, because it was a little bit extreme before. And in terms of timing, this doesn't necessarily need to be the final look, because we can retime this afterwards. Like we just want to get sort of a nice look out of this. Does it need to be okay? So I do like sort of how it shoots out, but there after that it just falls down way too slow. So it's way too much drag. So let's do it 0.2. So you can see the thing scaling down. So then after a while it will stop interacting with the other stuff. So in my opinion, it flies up a little bit too much. So what I generally just do is I just mess around with forces. Like I don't really care if something is complete. Like when you do simulations, what I always thought when I started out with simulations, like, oh yeah, it needs to be physically accurate. Like I need to match everything in terms of scale and forces. You don't. Like a lot of times you will just sim stuff at way different scales to make it look more convincing. If you and like for example, what I'm just going to do now is I'm just going to increase the gravity. So actual gravity would be 9.8 whatever. I'm just going to put it to -25. I don't give a damn. Just going to put it like that because I don't want them to fly so high. So that's already a lot better. And let's have a look through our camera. Yeah, this is a lot more than what I'm looking for. So yeah, I think I'm kind of like this. Again, this doesn't necessarily need to be the final time. We can just retime this after the simulation. Okay, so let's say that we're happy with this. So let's cache this to disk.